Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to Happy Homeschool online classes. A quote from Theodore Roosevelt: "The more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future." And hence, we study history to make our future better. Before I begin with the lesson, let us do a small activity. Guess the emperor. You may notice some objects to conjure the person. I'm sure by noticing a book, a beard, comparatively less jewelry, as in that time emperors used to dress up majestically with loads of jewelry and heavy, expensive robes. Yes, you guessed it right. This is Aurangzeb Alamgir, a strict Orthodox who is holding prayer beads in his hand and wearing minimal jewelry than his contemporaries ruled the subcontinent for almost half a century. This is the continuation of our live session conducted last week, where we discussed about the family tree of Aurangzeb, about the triumph of his character as an emperor and as an individual, the important event of Battle of Samogar, that how Aurangzeb, despite being the third son, was able to ascend the throne of the Mughal Empire. We also learned about the expansions made by Aurangzeb in the subcontinent and increasing the Mughal dynasty to a magnanimous size. The objective for today's lesson are: by the end of the lesson, you will be able to analyze the reforms of Aurangzeb. You will also be able to compare him with the other Mughal emperors. And finally, you are going to evaluate the reasons of his unpopularity. The topic is the Mughal Empire 2. We are discussing Aurangzeb Alamgir. This is a recorded session. Though during the early period of his reign, Aurangzeb had to take a strict decision for securing the throne. Therefore, he introduced number of financial and religious reforms or laws to govern his empire peacefully. Aurangzeb deserves a high place among the greatest rulers of the world. His ideal kingship was very noble, never indulged in unnecessary bloodshed once he was on the throne. "I was sent into the world by Providence," said Aurangzeb, "to live and to labor, not for myself, but for others. That is my duty, not to think of my own happiness except so far as it's inseparably connected with the happiness of my people." And therefore, he formed religious reforms and financial reforms. Aurangzeb wanted to unite the subcontinent under Islam. But as India's population was mostly Hindu, some of Aurangzeb's new policies began to cause trouble for him in future. In 1669, he ordered Muslim merchants to pay a 2% tax on goods, but Hindu merchants to pay 5%. He also reimposed the jizya tax, which was abolished by Akbar in his time to please non-Muslims. I'm sure you know what is jizya. Yes, this is a tax imposed on non-Muslims in lieu of army services. He has no hesitation in appointing Hindu advisors and aligning himself with them when he needed to. You know, children, there are also records of Aurangzeb having made donations to Hindu temples. He restored the Muslim lunar calendar. Though simple in life, he maintained the dignity of the court. He also put an end to the tradition of Mughal emperors living a glamorous life, rather, preferred a simple and pious living. free from extravagance and shunned luxuries that he believed was against Islam. You must remember, we have discussed about how he used to earn money for his living, as he regarded the public treasury as a sacred trust and did not spend a farthing from it for his own use. But one main thing that Aurangzeb did not continue, the great Mughal tradition, that is, building architecture. Rather, he focused more on constructing mosques. Aurangzeb tried to use religion as a straight law, as he had no desire for wealth and comfort. He even issued orders on the maximum length of beard on men's face. In 1665, he shut down the painting workshops at court and plastered over the wall paintings of his palace. In 1668, he banned singing and dancing at the court except the royal band. He himself performed all his religious duties to restore vigor to Islamic faith. Although he tried to preserve Islam, but unfortunately Mughal Empire reached its decline. Aurangzeb had proved himself a capable commander and administrator as a prince. He was certainly a successful military strategist and practical statesman than his brothers, who contended against him for the throne that gave him success against all of them. Aurangzeb took early to tighten up the administration. A period of strong government began. Everywhere, the provincial viceroys began to assert imperial prestige. Energetic Subedars extended the boundaries of the empire to Assam. Local notables found out that disobedience of orders would be tolerated no longer. Now, after all these sets of information, I have a question to think for you. Why do you think Aurangzeb was unpopular despite introducing so many reforms? Although he was a brilliant general, he too sometimes made mistakes by attacking Rajputs and losing their support. Long wars in Deccan with Marathas. Lenient taxation policy meant not enough money in the royal treasury. Although he enjoyed more Hindu officials in his government, his general policy, jizya and merchant tax, led to rebellion and Hindus started disliking him. Shortly before he died in 1707, he wrote a letter to his Prince Azam, which showed his feelings that life had been useless and the fear that he might be punished for his sins after his death. He left instructions for his funeral to keep it simple and cheap, and cost should be paid from his earned money by selling caps. His coffin was covered with a piece of white canvas which cost only 5 rupees. The man who had once sat on the peacock throne covered with jewels was buried in a simple, unmarked grave. I must say here that with Aurangzeb's death, the period of Mughal glory came to an end. Here's a time for assignment. Please do the assignment uploaded in the Google Classroom. Thank you for being with me.